Brachot Amud Aleph, 4 lines from the top. אמר לרב פאפא לאביי, מה ישנה ראשונים להתרחש לאוניסה? What's the reason the previous generations had miracles? ומה ישנה ענן דלא מתרחש לאניסה? What's the reason that we don't have miracles? אם משום תנויי, if it is because of learning, בשני דרב יהודה, which was the previous generation, כולה תנויה בנזיקין. Everybody used to learn by Masechet Nezikin. Ve'ana, and we in our generation, not only in one seder matninan, ve'ana kamatninan shita sdiri. We learning 6 darim. They used to learn one seder, and we learning 6 darim. Now by them, v'chia ve'mati Rav Yehuda, when Rav Yehuda in the previous generation used to come be'uktzin, in Masechet Uktzin, gabei Aisha שכובשת ירק בקרקע, regarding a lady who, בקדרה, who pushing vegetables in the pot. The reason halacha, if somebody is tameh, obviously if he's touching something tameh, it's become tameh. If he touch a yad means something that connected to the tameh. So let's say you have an olive and you have leaves. If somebody was touching the leaves, it's called yad. It's an extension of the fruit. Since you can pull the fruits with the leaf, so touching the leaf itself, it's an extension of the fruit, and therefore will be tameh. But if it's in Gdera, when she putting those olives with the leaves in a pot with vinegar, it makes the leaves very soft. If you will pull the leaf, the fruit, the olive will not going to be pulled with it because it's too soft. It's going to rip off the fruit itself.
Part of the fruit.
But so it's not part of the fruit anymore. Since it's very soft, if you're going to peel, if you're going to move the leaf, the fruit will fall away. So it's not considered as an extension of the. It's not considered as an extension of the fruit, and therefore, in such a case, if a woman was touching it, the din would be that it's going to be tahor. So again, וכיה ומתי רב יהודה באוקצין, when רב יהודה in אוקצין, גבי האישה שכובשת ירד בקדרה, a woman who pressed vegetables in the pot, and she pressed the leaves, and she with hands, and she's tameh, touching the leaves will make the fruits tameh. ואמרי לזיתים, some was the case was זיתים שכבשן בטרפיהן טהורים. Zetim aleph, that she pickled them, she put it with vinegar with the leaves, and she was touching the leaves again, it's tahor because it's soft and it's not part of the fruit. They didn't understand what's the reason it's tahor. Amar Rav Yehuda in the previous generation responded, Havayot de Rav Shmuel kachazina acha. We see here the big sugyot, big questions in the Shas of Rav Shmuel. He didn't understand what was the meaning of such a Mishnah. That was in the previous generations. Ve'anan, and we, kamatninan be'uktzin, we are today learning in the same Masechet that they didn't understand one Mishnah over there. We're learning today, Kleisar metivta. We're learning over there 13 ways to understand, to explain each Mishnah. Meaning we're way advanced in them, we're learning. However, ve'ilu Rav Yehuda, when Rav Yehuda, the previous generation, even though they learned less and they understood less, kishalif chad mesanei atamitra. It was a story, it was a famine, because Rav Yehuda saw people who are throwing bread to each other. He says, Rav Yehuda, people have no respect to food. He said, Yeh ratzon, there will be famine. It was famine. Then afterwards, they took Rabbi Yehuda. Then after people were suffering, they brought Rabbi Yehuda into the market, and he saw how much people waiting and they have no food. So he said, okay, we need to pray for rain. So he took off the shoe, because in a sign of a ta'anit, on a fast day for rain, it's equivalent to Tisha B'Av. So they didn't wear leather shoes. So he took off the shoe to start the fast day, and right away Hashem said, no. A rain came over. When he took off one shoe, a rain already right away came. So his learning was at way lower level than our generation. When he takes his shoe, a rain started right away. Ve'anan, said Rav Papa, kametzarina nafshayne. nafshin, we are suffering, we're praying so hard. Umitzvah katzavchina, we're screaming to Hashem to give us rain. Velei demashkan bach, He doesn't pay any attention to us. What's the reason? We are learning better, we are doing better. How come Hashem listen to them in a second and to us not? Amar lei, there is a big difference. Kamai, the previous generation, we're talking about one previous generation, not way older. The Maharsha says, the way older ones, you cannot compare yourself to them at all, but only to the previous one. He said, Havu kamasrayu nafshayu akdushat Hashem. They used to have mesirut nefesh, giving their soul for kiddush Hashem. Anan lo masrin nafshin al kiddush Hashem. We don't have mesirut nefesh for kiddush Hashem. What's the example? Kiha, the Ravada Barava was the previous generation. Chazi elai kutit, he saw a goya, de'ave levishat karbelta beshuka. So he used to dress a red clothing or goyim clothing in the market. Now, Savar the Bat Israeli, he thought that she is a Jewish woman. So Kareminai, he went and he ripped it off from her. Why? Then Igla Milta, the Kutiti, they found out she was a Goya. Sorry. Too late. They took him to court. Shaimu be'arba me'a zuzi. They made him pay 400 zuz. Amar lai told her, Mashmach, what's your name? Amra lei Matun. Your name is? My name is Matun. Amar la Matun. Arba'a me'a zuz leshavia. Matun, you're worth 400 zuzim. The Maharsha explained it was in a question mark. Because the reason halakha, Gemara says in Bava Kama, apora et rosh ha'isha bashuk. Somebody who take off the kisui rosh of a woman in the market, he embarrass her, needs to pay her 400 zuz. So he said, Matun, you're worth 400 zuz. I happen to pay you same as I would have to pay taking off a kisui rosh for a Jewish lady. This is how much you're worth. The Mefarshim derived from here. They said, what is called mesirut nefesh? Because he was driven by urge, not by thinking. What's mesirut nefesh? You jump, you react right away. Obviously, you shouldn't do that, if you're not sure if she's Jewish or not, but that shows how much they had passion about Hashem. Like, they didn't even think twice. Check, maybe she's Jewish, not Jewish. He ripped it right away.
Why would he rip it off in the first place? Why would he rip it off?
Because it's a clothing of it. So one of the pshatim, it's a red clothing. It's not appropriate. It's not sniut clothing.
So ripping it off would be the right way to do it?
Obviously, it was the upper cover, not completely. So they said, Rav Zilberstein said, you cannot learn from here, you can rip off people's clothing. Please behave accordingly. Next one, Rav Gidel, Benny, you have for building?
What? Yeah.
Rav Gidel, have a ragil, they have a, that's very interesting stories now. Rav Gidel, have a ragil, he used to, they have a kazil ve'yativ, he used to come and sit, ashari tvila, on the gates of the mikveh. Amar Lehu, he told the new ladies who start doing tvila and they didn't have practice on how to do tvila, or it was after, while they didn't go to the mikveh after pregnancy and nursing. Hachi tavilu ve'achi tvilu. So he used to give instructions to the lady while they tovel in the mikveh without clothing. Okay, this is how you should do it, this is how you should do it. Amri leRabanan, you can get sued. No, Amri leRabanan, לא כמסתף עמר מיצר הרע? Aren't you afraid from יצר הרע? אמר להו, he told them, דמיין באפי, they look to me, כי קקי חיברי. Like white, no, not קקי חיברי. Like white ברווזים, מה זה ברווזים?
Ducks.
Yeah, well, like white ducks.
Oh, geese.
Huh?
Geese, no? White duck is geese.
So avazim levanim, avazim like white ghosts. That's why he said for me they're not bichlal. I imagine as if they are, white. I don't know what that way dafka white,
They don't do that anymore.
No, not anymore. No. Rabbi Yochanan, Ave Ragil de Ave Kazil, he was acting better. Rabbi Yochanan, Ave Ragil de Ave Kazil veyati v'sha'arei tvila, he used to sit only at the entrance of the mikveh. Amar, כי סלקן בנות ישראל ועתיין מטבילה, when bnot Israel are coming out of the mikveh, מסתכלן בי. He should look at me. Rabbi Yochanan was a beautiful man. ונאהב אלעזרה דשפירי קבעתי. That we have children beautiful like me. Some say beautiful like me in Torah, or physically beautiful like me. אמרי לרבנו דתור רבנן, לא כמסתף עמר מעין הבישה, Aren't you afraid from עין הרע? אמר להוא, no, I'm not afraid. אנא מזרע דיוסף כאתינא, דלא שלטה בי אין אבישא. I am coming from יוסף הצדיק, that I have no problem of עין הרע. דכתיב בן פורת יוסף, בן פורת עלי עין. ואמר רבי אבאו, אל תקרא עלי עין, אלא עולי עין. They are above the eye. רבי יוסי בר חנינא אמר מאחה, we're learning it from this pasuk. It says on, וידגו לרוב בקרב הארץ. So it's similar, they are similar to fish, like דגים. מה דגים שבים מים מכסים עליהם? Just like water in the ocean, the fish in the ocean, water covering it. ואין עין הרע שולטת בהם, they don't have any עין הרע. עד זרעו של יוסף, even the descendants of יוסף, אין עין הרע שולטת בהם. They don't have עין הרע. ויבא תימה, the reason he has no עין הרע, עין שלא רצתה לזון ממה שאינו שלו, the eye of Yosef, he didn't want to look on the Potiphar, the wife of Potiphar, he didn't want to look on something that does not belong to him, and עין רעה שולטת בו. עין רעה, looking on something that does not belong to it, is not going to control him. There is few pshatim over here that bring about עין הרע, so we are Moroccans, so we need to elaborate a little bit more. So I'm sorry for accusing you, Rabbi Levi. So he said the reason, and Robert, no. So he said the reason why they didn't ask Rabbi Yochanan, what about Yetzer Hara? The Gemara says, in the end of Masechet Makot, that Rabbi Yochanan had very long eyelashes. So when he had to see people, they had to take sticks and like, so he couldn't see anybody. He had no problem, he has no problem of Ayin Hara. And it's the Gemara says Rabbi Yochanan says, I am from Mizara de Yosef, the Lo Shalta Be'en Abisa, right? I'm from the descendants of Yosef. So they explain over here, the Marsha explained that you don't need to be a descendant of Yosef. He said, if you said those words, Ana Mizara de Yosef, the Lo Shalta Be'en Abisha, you say from Ayin Hara. So he didn't say, I am from descendants of Yosef. He just said, I'm saying those words, and I have no problem of Ayin Hara. It's called Alei Ayin, Al Tikra Ela Ulei Ayin, above eye. So he said, the Aruch explained that the descendants of Yosef, not only that they have no problem of Ayin Hara, people looking at them, when people look at them, Olim, they become better. They have their Ayin Hara to them becomes Ayin Tova. Lastly, he said, Dagim Shebayam, the fish in the ocean, water are covering them. So he said, you look on the ocean, you can look at the fish, נכון? מה אתה אומר that you cannot see? So he said, it's not about not being able to see. He said, the question is only there is any cover to the fish. So he said, there are covers to the fish, and therefore, since there is a cover to the fish of the water, there is no Ayin Hara. Ad kan, today's daf.